Hey guys, it's Kim here with Fairily Fiber Fun. Thanks for joining me on part 2 of Spinning the Rainbow series. We are spinning the Rolags made in the Gradient Rainbow Upcycle series. And today we're spinning yellow. If you are a new viewer, welcome to my channel, and if you are a returning viewer, welcome back. If you haven't already, please do hit that subscribe button and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss new videos as they come out. And if you like today's video, please give it a thumbs up. Leave your comments, questions, and suggestions down in the comment section below. I love to read and respond to all the comments. I especially love to read them, and I'm pleased my channel is still small enough that I can respond to every single comment. All right, so once again, like I did with the green ones, I am pre-drafting the Rolags. Now, at one point the other day, I saw a question on Facebook, what are Rolags? So I thought I would answer that question right quick. Rolags are a blend of fibers that have been rolled around sticks to create a hollow tube. So although the tube has collapsed in the center, it is got some space in there. And these are very easy to spin. I wouldn't recommend felting with them, but you could pre-draft them and weave. I suppose you could use them for felting. I don't really know. I'm not that much of a felter. So in short, that is what a Rolag is. Again, today I am using the Woolly Winder Flyer. So I don't have to stop and change hooks. And I totally forgot to clean and oil my hinges. So I apologize for the annoying squeaking that comes. I'm trying to keep my feet as far towards the drive wheel as I can, so that does minimize the squeaking. It's the right treadle. The left one rarely, if ever, squeaks. I may have to stop and clean that here in a bit. It's driving me nuts. There, no more squeaky treadle. Nice. It pays to take care of your wheel. All you're hearing now is the noise you're hearing. You're hearing things turning, but you're also hearing the rattling of the bobbin occasionally. All right, so let's talk a little bit about drafting. What happens when you draft the fibers from a Rolag? So right now, the fibers go this way, but as we draft, they're going to end up going more or less that way. You can see, let me start from this end. They begin to pull out and straighten up. but it's still a tube, there's still air inside. But it holds together okay because they're twisting around each other as they pull out. So twist, let me add a little bit more. Twist is what creates yarn. So Rolags are easy to draft and easy to twist, or easy to spin, because they twist as you draft them. It's just the nature of how the fibers are put into the Rolag. So you start out with aligned fibers and then you roll them up into a tube and they're no longer aligned. And then you draft them and they become aligned, but they maintain the center of air, which makes a more lofty yarn. And they twist around each other because of how they're rolled up. It's kind of like you pull, if you're trying to pull from the center of a toilet paper tube, you're going to watch the toilet paper roll up on itself, twist up on itself. So a Rolag takes advantage of that concept. And I always like to teach people to spin from Rolags because in my opinion, it's much easier to manage the fiber supply. So what happens if you end up with a thick spot in the middle of your Rolag when you're trying to draft? Well, it's easy. You hold both sides and you pull the lump apart. Like here I've got a thin spot and a thin spot, thick spot in between. So I'm just going to draft that thick spot until it's where I want it. Very gentle tugs. And the rest of the drafting will happen at the wheel. So there we can understand the science behind a Rolag and the drafting, what happens when we draft from those rolled up fibers. It's a pretty neat concept. And no, you don't have to pre-draft. I showed that in the greens part. You can take the outside of that tube and just start spinning directly from your Rolag. You can spin these as thick or as thin as you want them, and as the fibers will cooperate for. This Rolag is really easy to spin. It's not too thick. So I could probably spin the whole thing like this without pre-drafting it. It's drafting very nicely. The more fiber packed into your Rolags, the more difficult it is to draft at the wheel without pre-drafting first. And so that you don't get dizzy watching me, I am drafting short forward instead of short backward, which is my preferred way to spin. I'm not smoothing, I'm just gently running my fingers along the strand. And pull forward, relax my fingers and slide down, pinch, pull forward, Just gently, whoop, till that happens. The wheel suddenly yanked on it. Sometimes you got to keep a little bit of pressure on your single in order to not lose it. But if you find that you're really having to hold on to your single after it's got twist in it, then in order to keep the wheel from yanking it away from you, you may need to loosen the tension on your wheel so that it doesn't take up quite as strongly. I spun all the singles on day 1 and wound the plying ball and just let it sit on this. Today is day 2 of this spin, and I'm hoping I can get this all plied up in one go, but we shall see. I think it's more yarn than the green was, but I also had used a little bit of the green Rolags in a project during Tour de Fleece, so it wasn't the full complete set. All right, that is a nice strong take up. That's what I prefer with plying. And really high speed so I can zip through this fairly quickly. I'm just allowing the plying ball to sit on my lap. It's at a bit of an angle, just how it happens to be sitting. And I am tensioning the yarn, both singles, in my right hand, and my left hand is controlling how, when, where, how much, when and where the twist goes in. So my left hand is doing all the actual work. And I can do this with opposite hands, which I do when my back is really hurting from hours of spinning. So good posture is important while you spin so that you don't hurt your back, and also frequent breaks. Like every 30 minutes to an hour of spinning, you should get up and take a 10-15 minute break. Move around, stretch, get something to drink. And then get back to it. Not everybody does that, including me, but it is a good idea to take frequent breaks while you are spinning. It's plying back on itself for a nice loose cable look, which is fine. That's a bit of overply, but a lot of that excess twist will relax out in the bath, and this will be, if not completely balanced after washing and drying, it will be mostly balanced. I almost always ply for a good bit of extra twist energy because some of that's going to relax out in the bath. And I do not like loosely plied yarns. I just don't like the way they look. So I'll tell you what ratio I've got my wheel set to. I can turn my book the right way around. It's 20-to-1 ratio. So I've got the smallest whorl on the large, the highest speed on the larger whorl that came with the wheel, the standard whorl. This is the Magicraft Rose. So every treadle gives me 20 twists. In a nutshell, ratio is the difference between, is how many times your bobbin or flyer, depending on how the wheel is, in this case the flyer, how many times the flyer does a complete rotation to every single treadle. I have a piece of string attached to my wheel, and I actually counted the number of times that this went around. My flyer bar went around while the drive band, the drive wheel was going around one time. And that's a really interesting experiment to do. And it's not 100% accurate because it's hard to start and stop in the exact same spot. But I am using the ratios I found on the Magicraft website. I keep stopping to fix little pigtails because as fast as I'm going, I am getting pigtails and I don't really want them in the final yarn. So you catch them in time and you can prevent them from making texture in your finished yarn. Okay, here I've got a nice little bit of yarn barf where the inside of the ball collapsed and now I have a little bit of a mess. So I can easily untangle this, but I'm going to have one strand really, really long. So I'm, and of course it's the one from the inside. So I'm going to untangle and then put the ball of yarn upside down. That way the outside strand will not continue to tangle around the inside strand. And then once I've worked through it all, I can turn the ball back over and have both ends readily accessible again. So that was a fairly easy fix, but I think I'm going to have more. Yeah, this ball was spun finer, has a little bit more energy to it, and the center is definitely collapsing. So in this case, I should have kept a thumb or a finger inside the ball to keep the center from collapsing. So I may have more tangles to work through here. All right, so I thought I would show you how I tie off the ends when they don't meet. They go about halfway around. So I want to give myself a good amount of end here, and then I'm going to do a figure 8. So I'm going to hold the yarn taut, and I'm going to take the end and I'm going to put it through about the center, wrap it around the end, back through the center, and then tie it to itself. And then I will scoot that down so that that strand is nice and tight. And now to do the other side. This one's the other direction. So it will go through to the back and then around, back through so that it makes a figure 8, and then tie it to itself. I keep bringing it out of the camera's viewing range. And then pull that figure 8 up so that that strand is nice and tight. And then I'm going to get some scrap yarn, which I could have broken off the end, one of the ends, so that they met, overlap just enough to tie it off, and then used the remaining bit to tie a figure 8, but to tie a couple of figure 8s. But anyways, so that's how I do a regular figure 8. I'll do that again. So I stick it through, wrap it around, and stick it back through so it crosses in the middle. There are other ways of doing that. And then I just tie an overhand knot. And I will do the other one right here. So I have 4 ties somewhat evenly spaced. And there we have it, all done and ready to come off the skein winder. I just slide it off one arm and voila. So it's quite twisted on itself, but that will relax out in the wash. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys!